Welcome to Rauta's Underground Trio. Here we are once again with three smaller bands. Basically something that is all about being debut. And because we're doing Underground Trio, the recipe goes as following. You might already know, from worst to best according to my own opinion. Take it as you wish, and of course I hope that you will give a fair chance to all of these bands. But mind you, of course, not all the genres might not be up for your alley and all that stuff. So let's get it going. First we'll head to international waters with a band called Scythicon. This one is Casus Belli with a pretty nice looking cover image with the self-financed digipack. Now I often keep saying that there's a reason why an album is self-financed, that is maybe not exactly easy to find label given it quality, genre or lack of thereof. But I don't know, it depends, of course, people in question, labels in question. Sometimes it's hard to find genre for your given style, especially when it's kind of a crossover like this one. So as you can see, this one is pretty basic, stripped down, bare-boned CDR digipack, and the style here is groove metal. Groove metal with a little bit thrash and death metal into play, meaning, technically speaking, that since groove metal is kind of a sub-genre of thrash metal, there's a lot of trashiness here. But sometimes this goes beyond the scope of basic, root thrash metal, that is old school and all that stuff. So it's definitely leaning towards some of the more modern takers of the genre. So if you will find some more, say, contemporary feats of this one, that's no wonder really, because these guys are definitely tapping into different kind of styles. It's more like a death metal is more like a seasoning here, and those thrash metal things are more like nodding to old school directions, where it's mostly pushing the boundaries of groove metal. That is not necessarily any one given band. I mean, you could really put out some names like from Pantera to any of the more modern bands, Gojira, whatever. But I don't know, comparing it too straight might just give you a little bit of wrong idea what's going on here. This album lasts for 67 minutes, which is outright way too much. I mean, unless you're really having a killer gold standard or even more kind of album, don't do 67 minutes of an album. Partially this is because of a couple of cover tracks, which is something that I would not really recommend to new bands to start with. Unless you have a really killer interpretation of whatever song you're covering, don't do it. In this case it means Black Sabbath, which is not exactly a bad cover but kind of meaningless. But the follow-up track, the last one here, is the thing that should not be. I give these guys, this is a brave take, but maybe too brave. It more like sounds like MTV diluted version of what Metallica was doing. As a big old school Metallica fan, I would say this cover does not do justice to the song. So what you are left with is the band's own catering, which is kind of okay. I won't praise it because that would be a little bit dishonest for me. These guys are heading to their own direction, but still is very, very much like a demo material what you have here. That combined with 67 minutes, it's quite a luggage really. Unless you're a big fan of groove metal out there, I don't know, maybe you can still skip this one and move on until the guys are ready to push out the next album. This is too much like the first demo, just overextending its stay and all that stuff. Okay, but not beyond that. Then we have new taker from Norway's black metal scene, Sin. I guess one of the oldest word plays in metal music is to replace letter I with letter Y, and if you really think about it, this could be just said Sin. Which leads me to think, yeah, this must be some kind of a dark pop music group. Well, that's kind of course, a joke here. Now, this debut album comes with a nice packaging and pretty cool of a cover art. And this is kind of a like Hobbit finding a dragon. Don't get me wrong, but I get this strong Tolkien vibe here, more like Hobbit than Lord of the Rings here. But the music is something like very organic sounding, by the way, album, Villfarelse. The production is very organic, meaning this doesn't really sound very raw, but quite far from being you know, very polished and nice, strong production. It's more like giving a middle finger to those big ass bands coming with their big ass budget and, you know, doing some kind of a sterile production and all. I get it. This is meant for people who are looking to get, you know, back to basics, back to kind of a 1990s feeling. That combined with rock and rollish riffs here and there, and somewhat of a, I don't know, lacking power kind of a vocals, really puts me to think that this is some kind of a nod or homage to bands like Forgotten Woods from the 90s. So it's more about the mid-tempo presence with atmospheric parts with the organic statement rather than going really raw or really powerful. So this falls outside of those basic two boxes. If you really go primitive and raw, you need to have that necro sound, which this doesn't have. If you're really going for the more powerful take of the big band state, whether we're talking about Behemoth or just death metal bands, this won't be that one. So where does this go? Reminding me back of those 1990s albums, or demos for that matter, which maybe lacked in budget, maybe was a little bit more like a 4-tracker, 8-tracker kind of a sound. Not exactly powerful, but then again, keeping the organic feeling to it. Now, if you're in the bands like that, more like nature leaning black metal ones, which are not definitely violent or aggressive or sinister or raw or bombastic like, well, Dimmu Borgir, then this might be your cup of tea. But it's kind of a weird one. I know some people will love this a lot, and especially if you're, like I said, being into bands like Forgotten Woods and whatnot, maybe early Ulver as well, this might be your cup of tea. But this is kind of a hard cookie to crack, so definitely not for everybody. But now you know, if you want something new from old school black metal from Norway, this is the album to go to. And then we go to the best of the pile here. This one is from Italy. It's Wendol with the debut album. Now, previously I heard the MCD, or was it officially demo, from this band a couple of years ago. Technically speaking, one-man project. And that was already pretty good. Kind of a decent take, but still lacking some kind of power and majesty and all that stuff. This isn't exactly a step up, but considering that I'm a little bit less critical when it comes to demos, I would say, technically speaking, this is a step up, but in overall quality, pretty much the same kind of a continuation. Comes with a nice looking digipack, and this is now through Werewolf production. So meanwhile, the previous one was, I think, if I remember correctly, a self-financed one. This is now through a real label. This one is a combination of melancholic black metal with melodic takes and passages that are not outright raw or big and majestic, but somewhere in the between. Now, if I had to put this in one given box, I would say atmospheric, melodic, melancholic black metal. And this would be roughly the take on it. Overall, the production is pretty solid. The vocals are pretty nice, except for the clean ones, which are really a bit clumsy. It's almost like spoken word with not too much color when it comes to vocal. This would need more dynamics, more flow, if you get my meaning. Just listen to epic doom or classic heavy metal or hard rock and you get what I mean. It would need more, well, just better flow, more dynamics in overall, rather than going very monotone with it. When it comes to the raspy vocals, well, yeah, pretty much solid stuff. You can really bitch about anything. Everything is nicely done. Because this album is not overextending its stay, but focusing on rather basic length and all that stuff, and the songwriting is nice, I think Wendol is really heading to right direction. And as such, I can recommend this album to people out there who are into what I would say mid stuff. Black metal. Mid, not referring so much to quality, but something that isn't outright fast and aggressive and violent, or raw and sinister for that matter, nor is it the most lazy post-black shoegazing black metal, somewhere in the middle. So not the most atmospheric and sleepy, dozy, atmospheric black metal out there, but definitely more on the atmospheric side of things rather than violent and all that stuff. So pretty much like going back to 90s or early 2000s more likely. So pretty nice of an album and all. So once again, you have 3 different albums to choose from. Maybe go for all of them. And if you want my order, best, second best, the least good of an album. And of course you will find links provided in the description box, so you can just click and try all these bands, or just Google them, or find them on your favorite streaming services or YouTube, whatever. Now off you go, listen and like, and if you have interest, let me know what you think of these albums. Take care and stay metal.